Good afternoon, First Presbyterian family. It's Thursday as I record, and I hope you have had a good week and that you're looking to a good weekend. In a moment, we'll be looking at our study. We're going to be looking at Philippians 2:19 through 3:1. That concludes a first larger section of the book. And I promise, I'm making a note to myself, next week, in the email, you'll have an outline to date as to what has been taking place. Keep in mind, Philippians is a lot, and it moves here and there, but we'll cover that next week. This Sunday in worship, we will conclude our study, our series on Ruth, and we will find where her journey ends. As some of you may know, Dallas County now requires all businesses to require all present to use masks. During lunch, I ran a couple of errands, and I wore my mask as I went to the two places that I needed to go. We are not requiring masks at this point. However, we ask that you wear your mask. Now, we know that some individuals have some breathing issues. There's really a medical reason for you not to wear your mask. We understand that. So unless you've got a medical reason, we do ask that you wear one. For those that are not able to mask, we ask that you not sing. Here comes the Apostles' Creed. Say that in your heart. Sing the hymns in your heart. I actually surprised a few folks when I said that we allow singing. There's church services that do not have singing at this point. I said, but we mask. And they're like, well, okay, you mask. That is the barrier that we need. So if you're not able to mask, we ask that you not sing. However, really, please, if at all possible, wear your mask. Our study is in Philippians, chapter 2, like I said. This is an interesting section. Paul has been speaking to the people, giving an example of Christ's humility, how to share that with one another, what their life is like in community and with the larger group, and then amongst themselves and with Paul. And now we come as he speaks of two people. He says in verse 19, I've got my Bible right here, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon so that I may be cheered by news of you. I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. All of them are seeking their own interest, not those of Jesus Christ, but Timothy's worth you know. How like a son with a father he has served with me in the work of the gospel. I hope therefore to send him as soon as I see how things go with me, and I trust in the Lord that I will also come soon. Again, they're aware of Timothy. Paul and Timothy had a very special relationship. It was like a father-son relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship. And he is sending him there as his representative. He is in prison, mind you, so him to speak. He wants to send Timothy there. So that's our first relationship we're going to talk about. And this will be a study about relationships. The next section is about a fellow named Epaphroditus. Still, I think it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and co-worker and fellow soldier, your messenger and minister to my need. Sidebar there. It's interesting, Paul is making it clear this guy's my co-laborer. And later in this letter, he will speak about two women that he sees as co-laborers. And how important he has been. It's even a fellow soldier. He uses that term. The Philippians sent the gift to Paul through Epaphroditus. And so he was the messenger to them. He ministered to Paul. Makes it very clear how much he appreciates them. But something happened. He got sick, and they probably got word of it. And so we pick it back up. For he has been longing for all of you and has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. He was indeed so ill that he nearly died, but God had mercy on him, not only on him, but on me also, so that I would not have one sorrow after another. I am the more eager to send him, therefore, in order that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. Welcome him in the Lord with all joy and honor, such people, because he came close to death for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for those services that you could not give me. Finally, my brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. This again describes this fellow, or commends this fellow. Now, did the people in Philippi think, well, we sent the wrong person, he got sick on us? Were they just had questions about him? He's like, look, no, he has been effective. He has done his work. And he really was sick. He wasn't homesick. That's not either. He really was sick. And I appreciate what he has done for me. And I want to send him back to you so you can meet your brother again. Now, this is the only time we have Epaphroditus appearing. We assume he comes from a Greek pagan background. His name is actually based on Aphrodite. Of course, that's a female goddess of love and beauty and things like that. He is seen as, that's just a male form for the name. So we, from that, take it, he comes from the Greek culture. Now, again, it's interesting, the two relationships that we see here. Timothy, the young one, and one that he is making low. Please receive him like an equal to me. And then the co-laborer. This is a very relational book, and he has a good relationship with the church. It's been said that in our lives there are three kinds of people that we need, and I'm going to add we've got a fourth represented here. In your life, you need a Barnabas. Now, Barnabas does not appear in this letter. He is from the book of Acts. Paul has his bad past. He has the conversion. He meets Christ. For 3 years, he is in Damascus ministering. He comes to Jerusalem, and there are people who remember him, remember his past. And Barnabas says what has happened to him is basically of the Lord, offers, extends fellowship to him. And I imagine Barnabas going to call on people with Paul, basically, love me, love my dog, because everybody loves Barnabas. He was an encourager. That's a nickname, actually. It means son of encouragement. We all need a Barnabas in our life, someone who encourages us, and we need to be a Barnabas to someone or others in our lives. Also, we see again here the relationship between Paul and Timothy. We all need a Paul in our life. That is someone who is older than us, who can be a mentor, an encourager, show us the way, one off of whom we can bounce ideas. Get really, really detailed here. I could say the three kind of scenarios. One I use is the big brother, then there's the young uncle, then there is the father figure. And one might even go so far as to say the grandfather figure is a fourth type. But when I think of the big brother as someone who is a little older than you, few more years down the road in life experience, who can coach or encourage or be a sounding board. I think what comes to mind is think of parenting. As somebody whose children are maybe 2-3 years older than yours, so they let you know what's coming. Now, they may be in it with a younger one like you are, but they can see a little down the road. Or maybe someone in your job, your workplace, who has been there a couple of years ahead of you. A little more experience. You're still a peer, basically, but with more experience. The young uncle, kind of based at that, or young aunt, I should say, to be inclusive, is the person who is in generations between you and your parents, that half generation ahead. Much like that first person, they're a little ahead of the journey. There's still a bit about them as a peer. And again, can encourage along the way. There is then the classic father figure, mentor, and that's Paul and Timothy here. Often said in workplaces, someone who is wrapping up the career, might be mentoring younger men. A friend of mine, still with many years to go in his career, finds himself mentoring the young dads at his workplace. He's my age, but he's an empty nester and a grandfather, as are actually many of my peers are grandfathers and grandmothers now. But anyway, that is that. And then the grandfather relationship is the same thing, just the person is older, maybe more perspective. We all need to have a Paul in our lives. And I'm going to say, definitely if you're 35 and older, you need to start looking to having some Timothys in your life. And even if you're younger, maybe someone who's a couple of years behind you or new at your workplace, you're a peer, but you can be that encouraging, that sounding board, just being a few years ahead. But definitely, you pass 35, a person needs to start looking to be a Paul to a Timothy. Still having Pauls in your life, but you need to also take on that Paul role. Some years ago, I was I was in a covenant group back in Atlanta. Well, I'm saying Georgia. We're Atlanta, Birmingham, and then Columbus, the three places where we were based. There were four of us. And for a year we got together and we started having what we called Paul to Timothy meetings. And we would get together, we would line up part of the time, we would have an older pastor sit down with us and just basically share pearls of wisdom. We did that in Birmingham. A fellow's a Presbyterian minister, teaches at the Beeson Divinity School. In Atlanta, we met with a pastor from North Avenue and one of the associates at Peachtree. And I think in one case, the person was more, I would say, the young uncle role versus the full parent-child. But that was still an important part. And this guy's like, we just eat this up. We have got a chance to sit down with an older pastor, somebody we respect, that is known, and just pick the brain. And sometimes it was conversations, sometimes it was more than that, some specific questions. The other role here is Epaphroditus. So the three classics I've always heard about are a Paul, a Timothy, and a Barnabas. Epaphroditus is very close to the church in Philippi, and Paul sees him as a fellow soldier, a co-laborer, a messenger, one who ministered to me. And I think that's also just a good peer. You need good peers in your life. They may not be the BFF. They may not be the person that you'll call to go to lunch when you're having a challenge. It's usually your Barnabas or your Paul that you call in that situation. But there's someone on whom you can count, on who you can rely, and you just might end up having lunch with them. You need to have a good network. And I think Epaphroditus represents that kind of person too. We all need that friend in our lives. This past week that was brought home to me as I was on the phone, had a phone date with a buddy, now lives in Colorado. And we've been friends, I'd say really became friends in the spring of 1983. Knew each other fall of 82, but really became friends in the spring of 83 and have just shared our lives over the years, places that we have been, jobs we've had, places we have served, all of that. And it's just good to once just talk. We just get together and chat. But also this past week I had an opportunity to text with somebody I knew from a past life. We reconnected a few years ago. And occasionally we just swap messages. They're people that we know, we share memories, people, and just check on life. It was brought home to me that the importance of those kinds of relationships. The takeaway for us is that God puts people in our lives and a call to us to take advantage of that. Think about how you can be a Barnabas. How can you be a Paul? Who is your Paul? You're the Timothy. Who is your Paul? And how can you be that good Epaphroditus to somebody, that good just coworker, colleague along the way? Have a good weekend.